That's good that you mentioned normalization. And I remember I reposted that Instagram post about normalization, and it blew up on my feeds because people were just like, and these are people that weren't even fitness people that didn't even know you personally. These are friends from different walks of life. They're like, wow, it's important to normalize these conversations. And I know we talk about Jordan Peterson a lot, and masculinity and things like that. Oftentimes, we're like, oh, we got to be men. We're talking about growth, right? We don't want to plateau as men. We don't want to plateau as human beings. So we'll kind of keep grinding and figuring things out. And I'll dip a bit and I'll go, and I'll dip and I'll go. And being able to normalize these conversations. I love how you mentioned expression, because what I think, now I'm putting my musician cap on now, right? Because I'm so it's like, when I think about the word expression, I think about like, oh, what are you creating? What message are you putting out there, whether through song or through design or whatever, right? But when you mentioned expression in terms of, an overall, mental capacity of being able to normalize these conversations and talk about these things, like, I think it's good to be able to be vulnerable to some degree, and oftentimes claiming and not wallowing, because there's a lot, I think our generation too, there's a lot of wallowing where it's like, oh, everything's terrible. And, you're not good, I'm not good, everything's just horrible. And I'm like, it's not going to help anything. But like, to really be recognizing your limitations can be really freeing from what I'm learning now. And I love how your post on normalization really woke my senses to be like, okay, I should talk about this stuff, not only with my like close families and friends, but just have a conversation with people in general, just check up on people. And that's one thing with the pandemic now. As much as hard as it's been, so hard for so many people in varying degrees. Everyone knows this. Everyone's talking about the new normal, the next normal, whatever it's called. Right? Like, to be able to understand, wow, like this year was just hard for everybody, and it took a toll on various people to various degrees, and normalizing that and making sure people understand that. And the second tip that you're talking about in terms of working out, and how sometimes it could be, to your detriment too. It's what I think of like, oh, working out and you're big and strong, you're buff, just because someone's big and strong and cut, my perception is like, oh, they're super hard and they're tough and they're tough as nails. But sometimes it's not the case. And sometimes mentally they may not be all there. And it's good to have that sense of normalization. One thing that my brother gave me some advice, because I'm starting to work out more this year, right? And he goes, sometimes working out in fitness in general is kind of like the super soldier serum in Captain America, right? If you watched the first Captain America movie, and how Steve Rogers, who's like a nerdy but sweet, lovable, hardworking guy, he takes the drug or the serum or whatever, and it amplifies his goodness, it amplifies his masculinity, it amplifies his strength, right? And but my brother was like, yeah, it's how fitness and wellness are. Like, if you really take care of yourself and you work out, you work on your mind, body, and soul, like, if you're a good person at your core, it's going to bring out the good qualities in you, right? But on the other tip, you're talking about like, the negative sides, or maybe you're not fully formed or fully aware of yourself. If you're in a lot of bad places, for example, if you're working out for the wrong reasons, or working towards something for the wrong reasons, it's going to bring a lot of that negativity out to you as well. So I like how you mentioned that stuff with working out, because a lot of people, especially like I'm just kind of like a nerdy artsy kid at my core, right? So I always assume that people, they go to the gym, they just lift heavy weights and they grunt and they're all very physical. But it's good that you really incorporate things like normalization and expression in the same context as form and posture and consistency when you're working out. I see that you could tie that really, really close together and integrate that really well. And a lot of people can't do that too. So kudos to you, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things that, I definitely want to bring the two together. And it's a hard balance, because sometimes someone's not in the right mental state to even start working out. So I feel like I have to switch mindsets, because usually if someone's not in the right mental state, I'll just be like, well, you should just work out then, and then you'll probably feel better, and then so on and so forth. But now I'm at the point, I'm like, well, if you're mentally not even right to work out, let's get your mental state up. Let's bring you up as a person in general, get your confidence up, make you feel better, and then we can start working out. Because once you start feeling better, and then like you want to start maybe even just moving more, we can get you to working out. Then that the working out benefits are going to bleed into like your mental state, and then you'll start feeling better about yourself in a whole bunch of different ways. So I'm trying to do something that's like, we'll start focusing on your mental state first, then get to the fitness portion of it, and the physical fitness portion of it, and then go from there. Instead of saying, oh, you're depressed, oh, you have anxiety, okay, just start working out, you'll feel better, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that mentality of just go ham and go into it and just dive into it can be good sometimes, because especially personal trainers and physical trainers, they should kick you in the butt to be able to kind of push yourself and not, plateau or not regress. Right. And I think that's a good thing. I think for me, and I realized this past year, especially the past couple of months, even, that like, I'm just a silent sufferer. Like if I'm like, going through things, I'll just kind of grin and bear it because you know what? I don't want to make a big deal. I'm a strong person. I'll handle it. I'll take care of it. I think we're very similar, mindset wise, where it's like, oh, if something's wrong, I'll just take care of it myself. I'm not one to bottle things in because I'm proud. It's more so like, if I feel this certain way, I'll just kind of grin and bear it. And I'll kind of bring back this analogy when I was hiking in the Ozarks in Arkansas, right? So like I eventually had a blister, one of the worst blisters I've ever had working out, like like around the heel of my foot. I had new shoes and I had a blister. And we were like halfway through the hiking trails. I couldn't like chicken out and be like, well, I'm just going to sit this one out. Let's hang out here. Like I had to finish. We're in the mountains. And I remember I was like in so much pain, but I was like, you know what? I'll just keep my mouth shut, let's deal with it and keep walking. And it just like, and the wound got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it was a scar on my ankle for a good amount of time. It's talking about like making sure your mental health is and your mental state is right. And sometimes we want to be the silent sufferer and we want to just, okay, just grin and bear it. We'll be fine. If I work out, I'll be stronger. And to some degree, that's true. Like, your muscles do tear down in order to be, brought back up and more effective. Right. But when you integrate that mental health, and I love how you're integrating the mindset stuff too, where it's like, if someone like me, a self-professed former silent sufferer, right? Long-term. Well, like someone like with that kind of mindset who's just going to kind of just grin and bear it and not be able to express themselves is not good to bring into like a workout session or a client session, right? So how would you deal with somebody like that who maybe isn't well-versed in communicating their needs?
Yeah, so I think what I would try doing is to just try opening them up a little bit more. So ask them obviously some like basic questions. And I think actually, I got this more from like one of the doctors I was going to because he was very about like mental health. And he kept kind of just like asking me the same questions like, so what else is going on? And that was a very basic question, but he asked me it so many times to the point I just started opening up about more stuff. And I would open up more stuff. He's like, so what else is going on? I was like, and then I would just like dive into something else because almost I felt like I had to talk about it at that point. Yeah. But I was like, this is pretty interesting because usually, especially when talking to doctors, like I wouldn't mention any of this stuff, but he got me to open up a lot more because I feel like a lot of like mental health issues, I wouldn't say issues, but a lot of like mental health things you can run into, it's usually like an onion layer. And if you just kind of keep peeling back and asking yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Eventually you'll find the core of it and you'll be like, oh shit, this is why I do this. And I used to do that for myself. I was having like, whether it be like confidence issues or something else, I would ask myself, well, why do I feel like that? I would answer a question, ask myself why again, answer it, ask why again, so on and so forth. Until eventually I found that core issue and I was like, okay, this is the problem right here. This is what I actually need to work on to fix it. So actually, I guess it does relate to what the doctor was doing because he kept asking me the same question all the time. But it's one of those things like that's what I want to try finding out with other people and like find out what those real core issues are and then working on those specifically and then hopefully build them up from there.